All right, we got a doozy today here, guys. How's it going, guys? It's Nate here again. Right now, I'm going to be watching through a video that kind of broke Tarkov, which is the wiggle that killed Tarkov. So it's Goat. He's talking about some of the cheater problems that exist within Escape from Tarkov, and even going as far as to cheat himself to prove a specific point.
The plan. Number 1, we will find a cheater. We will spectate said cheater. 3, we will figure out how many cheaters there are in every Tarkov raid using the cheater's ESP knowledge.
One of the immediate kind of issues I see here is going about his process, right? His process that he talks about, he's going to install ESP or cheats in Tarkov, and he's going to go and watch other cheaters to see if they indeed are cheating or not. I think it's very important that when doing a video like this specifically, it needs to be more factual. It needs to be more scientific than that. It can't just be you go into a couple raids, try some stuff, and come back and you know, edit down the information. The thing is, we have to be, as a viewer, involved in the process, right? How are you going to record this information? You know, how many raids did he actually go through? Even though he mentions it in the video, there's no spreadsheets or there's no math that comes to us. So us as a viewer just has to trust the credibility of Goat as a streamer. I mean, there's very well, you know, something he could be doing in the background that we don't even know about because we haven't seen any of the evidence. Now, what I do like is that he's taking the initiative to, you know, discuss this issue that exists in Tarkov right now. The problem is, though, how does this affect it on the other side? I mean, if he's using cheats, is he just giving more exposure to actually cheat in Tarkov? You know, is this ESP that he talks about? I mean, if it was so easy for him to do it and he shows himself Googling it, is that going to inspire a whole other player base that never knew about it before to now actively participate in cheating? It's a very, very dicey, risky video just because, you know, what he could be doing is bannable offensive in a lot of websites. It's not just, you know, Twitch, or it's not just, you know, BSG. It's a combination of everything.
The game developers are most likely going to copyright strike and try to take down this video. If that occurs, I have a video ready to go. It doesn't contain any game footage.
Okay, something else he brings up in the video is BSG's reaction to cheaters that exist within Tarkov. It's known for a while. I don't know why, the way that they handle cheating situations like this, but there will be people that upload footage to Reddit or to YouTube about BSG cheaters, and usually it gets a copyright strike because there's a lot of like hearsay that BSG doesn't really want like the reputation of the game tainted by seeing footage of cheaters out and about, so they usually request to bring any of that footage down. So that is a huge problem in my opinion, just because just a few weeks ago, Renguar ended up dying from a normal player and gave his name to the developers, and they banned him without even reviewing anything. So I think credibility across the board, you know, I think that it's interesting that Goat is doing this video, but at the same time, you know, he talks about how he doesn't want to play this game if it continues down on that path. And so doing a video like this for him seemed pretty predictable, just because it was, oh, okay, well, if he doesn't care about the game or continuing to play it, he can just do this without real repercussions. If he ends up getting banned from the game, no worries, he's not really continuing playing. So
just look at these metrics. There are over 1,000 people online right now in this Discord, and you don't even need to be in the Discord to get the cheats. They have sales, and check out this. In early February, they had 4,000 concurrent users connecting to the servers at one time. And this is just one cheat developer of many.
What's interesting here, though, is he starts to show the Discords that are out there for cheaters. And I think here's where my brain starts to clash a little bit, just because it's realistically showing how easily accessible these cheats are and where to get them. I know he blurs out the names, but I'm sure if you do you know, 10-second Google search like he did here, you could find it pretty quick. I think there should have been kind of more, I don't know, elusiveness just to kind of keep names that are big and cheating down. It's like, you know, he goes into the video to talk about how many members are active at that time, and it's a ridiculous, you know, insane number, especially when you compare the actual number of Tarkov players to this. There's another point in the video that he points out, which is that cheaters are more scared of getting caught by the cheat creators versus the actual game developers. And BSG right now in its current state is not well equipped to handle any community issues or cheating problems. They have one anti-cheat in place, and that's about it.
We need to set some ground rules. Number 1, fresh account. I'm not playing on my main account. Number 2, no killing PMCs, even if I think they're cheating. Number 3, no transferring of loot, no boosting, and no playing with anyone else. And number 4, after a few days of testing, reset the account.
Okay, so here at this point in the video, he's talking about his standards, right? So he starts with a fresh account, he doesn't kill any PMCs, he plays only alone, and then he resets the account after he's finished. Here's the thing though, I don't think resetting your account really, I don't know, that doesn't really mean much to me as a human being. I think the no killing of the PMCs and whatnot is kind of important, because these, this act that he's doing right now is really questioning his credibility, because up until this point, you have no idea if he's going to uninstall the hacks afterwards, if he's, really given up on the game, so he just feels like he can do whatever he wants. I mean, we have to see if his credibility does come into check at some point, but this is not the right way to go about it. I think, in my opinion, if he's trying to raise awareness about hacking, about cheating, and how much of a problem it is, I think it's fine by just showing gameplay that is sus enough that you can recognize on your own. You don't have to go out and cheat, because he eventually gets to the point in the video where he's just, trying to find the most sus people in the game, just follow them around. But if you haven't played the game a lot, it's pretty hard to tell. But if you're completely behind walls or behind objects, in theory, there should be no way that they can hit you. And a lot of the times it does. Or, there's people that fly straight in front of you.
In addition to that, you have radar down in the bottom right-hand corner. It shows everything, including the AI bots. This is going to be really nice when we're seeing if another player is tracking us through walls, because you can see what direction they're looking with the little arrows.
Here he's talking about radar, right? And I think it's frustratingly annoying that I think that it's okay that he's using this as a means to see if people are tracking him through walls, but there are so many other components that are going into this, right? I mean, he could just be, walking, and he talks in the video about how he crouches and slow walks and almost no sound is there, but I mean, you don't see the entirety of the clips. He could be running over to buildings and the sound could be giving him away with this radar.
I follow my rule and let the PMC kill me. I can't tell you how many raids this happened in. Was the guy cheating? I have no evidence whatsoever. As far as I can tell, this was just a normal raid.
So he talks about this point of being unsure if people were cheating or not. And the thing is that it's really his own judgment to determine whether or not these people are cheating. And there's a lot of other things that can affect the way that you think in this, and I think it's important to have unbiased people kind of judge this.
And yeah, I'm using a voice changer. On the first day of testing, I actually thought I was going to come back to Tarkov, and I didn't want to get recognized in game. More on that later.
It doesn't really make much sense that he's using a voice changer, because the next day he ends up turning the voice changer off, and just the fact that he's putting out this video right now with people's gamer tags, I feel like it would, give him away of who he was.
Maybe things aren't that bad. However, I didn't really have a solid plan to determine if someone was cheating or not. How can you know?
At this point, Goat is talking about how do you actually know if somebody's cheating? What is the test, or what do you have to do in order to 100% confirm that? And I think when we're talking factually, when we're talking scientifically, there isn't a way that you can tell if somebody is actually cheating or not. But if we're talking about us as players, us with experience in the game, us experiencing cheaters, what they're like in this, is that you can use common knowledge and determine, yeah, with great certainty that somebody is cheating. So
nothing. It honestly was pretty boring. But then I discovered a secret weapon, the wiggle. And the wiggle was all I needed.
Okay, so here's the thing. I think that in a situation like this, it's maybe a little obvious that it could be, you know, that they're wiggling at each other. But there's a boatload of other situations where, you know, wiggling, you know, whether somebody's just peeking around the corner or they're wiggling because they don't want to get hit with bullets in their head, you know, where they'll lean left to right. You know, there's so many situations where I think that this is kind of hard to read, and, you know, and it gets weird when you're talking about factually, scientifically, like, this method isn't 100% accurate, and there's going to be times where he messes up. And I think going back to having something like a scientific method where you have a hypothesis, you put a controlled experiment into action, and throwing in the variables and understanding, you know, how it works and when it messes up and when it doesn't, and also your percentage of error. I think that's a huge thing in experiments is, you know, when you're conducting this, providing when you're wrong or when something messes up, you know, something that isn't consistent with the experiment, then you can determine how accurate this actually
is that it shows the other hacker that I cheat. If they respond to it by wiggling back, it confirms that they have ESP. And that's what I wanted. I wanted them to show their hand.
Okay, I should kind of give some origin to the wiggle. The wiggle hasn't stemmed from like the hacking community. It actually stemmed from Tarkov itself, where if you wiggled at somebody, it meant that you were a friendly scav. So if a scav was looking at you, you were looking at it. You make some noises, you look at each other and you wiggle, and that's like, okay, we're friends, we don't have any beef. I think the way he interprets it here is that it's for a cheater to identify as another cheater. And it's like, okay, I mean, I guess you could take it as such, but realistically in Tarkov it had another meeting, which I think makes it a little bit harder to identify when somebody is cheating. And you'll kind of see here like a solo players that'll be by themselves in completely other areas that will start to wiggle through walls directly at them. It's like, okay, that is a little bit more obvious, but also harder to detect if you're new or if you've never even experienced situations like this or thought that you could.
And I try the wiggle. Oh, he's wiggling. Look.
Oh.
See that?
Yep. Does that mean the whole team?
He took out his right rebel.
Does that mean the whole team is cheating if he's doing that? That whole team.
100% cheating.
That whole team.
You know, the folks are wiggling at him through the wall, pulls out the red rebel. It's only one person that's wiggling. It's only one person that pulls out the red rebel, which in my opinion made me think that these two other folks are not really cheating because, you know, they're probably getting carried by this guy. And more often than not, it's not a group of folks necessarily cheating. It could be one person that is doing a lot of the cheating and then paying out for services to either get certain weapons or get certain items or quest items or loot. So I've watched the rest of the video and they talk about people's KD ratios, right? And a guy even mentions that he needs to lower his KD ratios so that way he doesn't look as sus in game. And there are some other, I think, more 100% official ways of doing this experiment. Like, even though that this person in particular wiggled through the wall and wanted them to wiggle back, there's a lot of room for error in that when instead asking cheaters specifically about KDs, them responding back with, oh yeah, this guy's KD was like 25. It's like, okay, that's a 100% sure way, because there's no way that your KD is indicated anywhere else, you know, unless you're using a specific cheat. But the thing is, though, is that you're not always going to get people that are going to talk over VoIP. There are going to be plenty of cheaters that go into game and don't talk, don't do anything, just keep their head down, are constantly changing their names. And I think it gets really tricky here because I think that the way that this video is formed is that there's not really a sole one purpose, if that makes sense. It's very convoluted because this person you know, has all this gear and whatnot that he's running in raid, whereas, you know, he kept it very specific that he wasn't going to kill people, he wasn't going to loot, he wasn't going to, you know, try to do anything that would give him any benefit.
All right, I'm gonna drop it on the ground for you. See that? I was watching his health tick down and I was like, he's not gonna make it. This is gonna be so funny.
So when he starts to bring up the stats as well, It would have been nice to actually see where his information was presented. I think that it's important to keep track of the information correctly when you're doing stuff like this. This is exactly why in the scav raid video, we showed you the Excel sheet, how we broke it down, and literally typing in the numbers as we were doing it. I think that would give him a lot more credibility here, because there are even times where people on Reddit will conduct experiments like this, and when they do conduct experiments like this, they reach out to a number of people, so that way you're getting more and more results that are recorded more accurately versus somebody that isn't showing information and isn't showing how his hypothesis compared up to these results. It makes it very difficult to understand his big point on this. Is he trying to say that cheating is an issue in Tarkov? Well, of course, we've known that for a really long time, that the cheating issue is, you know, off the charts currently, especially within these last 2 wipes. You know, the issue with Tarkov is that it deals with RMT, which is real money trading services that exist in this game. So, you know, people are paying for them to complete quests or get really hard, you know, loot to find. It'll be getting them, you know, leveled up a lot faster. So there's a whole lot of different components that go into Tarkov when it comes to RMT. So here's my final thoughts on the entirety of the video. I think that this is an interesting experiment to hold. I think it shows from the perspective from newer players and more experienced players, it starts to give them numbers, rough, really rough numbers about how often or how likely you are to come across a cheater, right? It gives you insight about this. But on the other side of the argument, it's that you just showed how easy it is to actually cheat in the game, and even in a more blurry sense, but where to even get this from, how to, you know, go to different discords and whatnot, and, you know, how people even interact in that community, so that way if you did it, you would know what to do. And it's hard to tell if this video is doing more harm than good. And I know Tarkov is a little bit different just because there is so much time that is dedicated to this game. I mean, you know, quests that will literally take days, crafts will literally take days. You have a lot of time invested in this game, but it also shouldn't be your only source of happiness and the only thing, you know, to enjoy in life. So I think that if you're, you know, to the point where you're raging so much in Tarkov because all you think is cheaters, you need to step back from the game, go do something else, and then with a fresh mind come back and understand that not every death is going to be a cheater. But I think that this content creator is making a point that cheaters are definitely an issue.